Hey Mactors, welcome to the Mactors podcast. Today you meet André Santana, a psychologist and member of the Psychological Society in Ireland. He will give tips and help those who are feeling down and looking for a work permit. So we know exactly what that means. Across the next 10 episodes, we're talking work permits from all angles, chatting with guests from both local and immigrant background. You hear inspiring stories from marketing professionals, CEOs, recruiters, and more. I am Camilo Dillon, your host and founder of Marketing in Ireland community, helping immigrants, marketers, and students succeed in their career. The sponsor of the episode is Dagda Visual, a digital marketing agency that offers service to those looking for content production, video, photography, and other marketing service. Are you ready? Thank you so much, Andrea, to be here, to accept the invitation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Please introduce yourself for our members.
Okay, so as already stated, my name is Andre. I am a psychologist. I've been living in Ireland since November 2019, and I am a member of the Psychological Society of Ireland. So I completed my bachelor's in Brazil. I did a postgrad diploma also in Brazil. Then I completed a master's here, and before working with psychology here in Ireland, I did a bit of everything, and including social care, which I can talk more about throughout our conversation.
Oh, and
today.
We have our guest.
Of course.
Ooh.
Hello.
That
Hey,
love,
this is mine. Excuse
that
me.
love the water from the guest. So, could you share a bit about? She's okay here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just put your ass there, baby. Could you share a bit about your story and what motivates you to move to Ireland?
So the list is quite long. I think if I were to state absolutely, all of my reasons for coming to Ireland, I would need maybe the whole day, possibly. But I guess one of the main reasons, one of the main factors that made me come to Ireland was a friend from back home. So one of the jobs I had back in Brazil is I used to teach English as a second language. I used to work in a school, and one of my coworkers from that school, she came to Ireland about like a year before I did. And she would often post stories on Instagram, or she would call me to tell me, what life was like here. And I remember her saying things like, oh, Ireland is fantastic, it's safe, people here are super nice, you can make a lot of money here, you can make €10 an hour for cleaning toilets. And at the time, I thought €10 an hour was like, oh my gosh, I guess because I was no, sorry, darling, this is mine. Because I thought, I guess, my perception of like a minimum wage and was a bit different than it is nowadays. I guess inflation was not as bad as it is today. The housing crisis wasn't as bad as it is today. So I guess this friend was one of the reasons. Another reason that I could state, I guess the fact that Ireland is one of the few countries in Europe that has English as its main or only official language. I know Malta does as well, and I know that, even though the UK left the European Union, they're still sort of a part of Europe, sort of. But I don't speak any other languages besides Portuguese and English, so I thought I wasn't really, I guess, willing to go to a country that didn't have English as its main language, because I know that language learning takes time, and
That is true.
So that's definitely one of the many, many reasons. But I didn't know almost anything about Ireland before coming here. A few random facts here and there about St. Patrick's Day and like stereotypical things like leprechauns or whatever.
Me too. I just had a dream.
Dream?
And, the courage come here along.
Yeah, I think most of us, most of us
I think so.
don't really know much about Ireland before we actually start living here. So
Yeah,
that's a bit of my, I guess, my journey, sort
cool,
of.
cool. As a psychologist and an immigrant, you likely understand the difficulties many immigrants experience. Could you describe three common challenges immigrants face in Ireland and how these challenges impact them?
Sure. Again, if we were to create like a list, we could probably find more than three challenges. But if I were to establish like a top three things that I guess come to mind, I guess we could mention linguistic barriers as probably one of the main ones for a lot of people. I was lucky enough that I already spoke English when I arrived here. I was, I guess, very privileged in my life in the sense that I had opportunities to learn English at a very young age. I lived abroad before coming to Ireland. So I do recognize that the opportunities I had aren't necessarily what the norm has. And learning a new language, it's exhausting, it's time consuming, it's challenging, learning to think with a different structure and thinking in different order, like rearranging all the words in your head. It's tough work. So, and I guess a lot of migrants already experience the struggle of the linguistic barriers when they're in customs, airport, before they've even stepped foot, in Ireland.
I faced that.
Yeah. And
I wasn't able to order coffee, so
there we go. So an example of how tough it can be, So learning to communicate from scratch is it's not easy, and it's actually connected to maybe another issue, which is like self-esteem, self-worth, self-perception, which I guess I could say is the second thing that is a major stressor for migrants, because when you're starting from scratch, you basically have to rearrange yourself as a person. And that means losing certain titles that you perhaps had before, certain rights, you lose familiarity with your environment, you lose your support net, you lose basically everything. And one of the main consequences of this loss is how your perception of yourself in the world changes. And that can be a really big stressor for a lot of people, because I know, for example, a lot of people that are, for example, working with random jobs, but maybe back home they had, I don't know, degrees in, I don't know, civil engineering or law or even psychology or anything of the sorts, and that can be a huge blow to a person's self-esteem. What I said about losing some of your rights, like here you can't vote for presidential elections if you're not like a citizen. So that can help, I guess, not help isn't the word, that can make a person feel lesser than others in many ways, because you feel like you're not really fully integrated to the community that's there with you, even if the community is very warm and accepting and welcoming. These minor things here and there can kind of create this sense of non-belonging. I remember another stressor that I had, and a lot of people had also, at the time that I had a Stamp 2 visa. The whole 20 hours rule was... So for those of you that don't know, in Ireland, if you are here as a student with a student visa, Stamp 2 type visa, you are only allowed to work, well, legally at least, 20 hours per week. But considering, the housing crisis, inflation, the prices of, everything here in Ireland, it's almost impossible to pay all of your bills and do everything you need to do with 20 hours. So sometimes having to negotiate with your boss, like, hey, could you maybe on the side give me a bit more, or having to find another job, or the fear of like someone reporting you, that can also create stressors. So
Yeah, and I don't know if you had faced that before, but for example, I came here as a student too, with this stamp too as well, as an English student, and then even if you know we have our rights, but it's not really clear what is
Yeah.
my right.
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
so, and then looks like I don't really know what I can do and what I can't do. Of course, you know you can do nothing wrong, but the point it is,
Yeah.
looks like you have a really
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
rights than every single person that is an European. And then of course you have your rights if you are if you're in a live in a really bad conditions, and you know your landlord is not really provide for you what they should do. You know you can report him, but you feel, should I? No, it's much better just move on and don't
Yeah.
have any trouble, don't have any problem, because I'm not European here, and
Yeah.
then I don't want this trouble for me. So no, this.
And even knowing who to reach out to, because for example, I know nowadays that if I have issues with housing, I can email RTB or Threshold or anything of the sorts. Or I have friends here that I can kind of rely on, which is, I guess, connected to the third stressor that I thought would be interesting for us to kind of discuss, which is loneliness. I guess that's another thing that migrants often face, especially, you know, in the first months, years, maybe, because when we're in a new country, we have to build a new support net. We don't have our family here, we don't have our friends, we don't have, or maybe we do have maybe a few friends, I guess. And you know, if a person has good social skills, maybe they won't struggle that much to make new friends. However, it is different. It's a shock to the system when you arrive at a place and you don't know anyone, or you're not even familiar with the place itself. So I remember the first Christmas I spent here, I spent working, which was weird. And then the second Christmas I wasn't working, I was off, but I spent like alone. Not completely alone. I had like 2 flatmates with me, but it was a very strange feeling to go through during a period like Christmas, because Christmas is typically the time of year that we associate with like family and I don't know, you know. So yeah, loneliness is definitely one of the major issues that I'd say migrants face. So loneliness, changes in self-perception, self-worth, self-esteem, and linguistic barriers, I think, are like the 3.
Can migrants get any benefit from consulting a therapist?
Yes, I'm just smiling because the cat was playing with the wire. But yes, migrants can benefit from therapies. I guess anyone can benefit from therapies. Really important for us to remember there are many different types of therapies, and specific types are tailored for specific types of needs. I guess therapy in general, for those that are unfamiliar with the whole concept, it's a treatment that's aimed at helping people manage and overcome their mental health struggles, their emotional issues, social issues, issues in general. I guess people that, for example, have recently lost someone, so people that are grieving, people that are, who want to improve their social skills, people that want to gain more knowledge on their own emotions and their own minds. So I guess the scope of therapies is it's quite wide, and it's hard to pinpoint just one specific thing that it's for, but it can be quite beneficial to anyone that's seeking some sort of insight or some sort of change. So yeah, could you maybe repeat the question just to see if I answered
definitely.
everything?
So basically, like how helpful can be to someone that they feel bad, you know, like so they feel down or have emotional issues, because
Yeah.
imagine yourself back when you were a student here.
Yeah.
So, and then you don't have your family,
Yeah.
and then probably sometimes I remember I had a friend that her mom every day called her and say, please come back home, come back home, and then she felt like, wow, I want to follow my dreams, but I don't want to make my mom upset.
Yeah. So
Do you know?
the inner turmoil that comes from that, yeah. And all the other things that we mentioned when we were discussing the stressors before. So like feeling lonely and the changes in self-perception and the linguistic barriers, all of these things can be addressed in therapy. Therapy is also, at the end of the day, it's a relationship that you're building with someone. So it's someone that's there for you, I guess, in your moments of struggle and turmoil. So it's always reassuring to feel like you have someone you can count on when you feel like you don't know anyone, especially when you feel like you don't know anyone around you. And even if you have like good friends, just because your friends are kind or have good intentions, that doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to listen actively, or they know how to ask the right questions, or they know how to point you in the right direction if you're feeling kind of lost. So that's another reason why therapy is I guess different from like just a random conversation at a pub.
Yeah, and like I'd be really honest if you, I don't know if you felt that before, but I don't know, at some stage when I start therapy, I'd say 6 years ago, I had a really bad relationship with therapy. And then because I thought I paid someone just to listen to me, like my friends can listen to me, like so. And then I was there, she was talking, and I just like, what am I doing here? Is a conversation more expensive in my life? So then that was my thinking.
Yeah.
And then I just quit the therapy twice.
Yeah.
But then when I came here and I faced all the troubles and all the challenge, and then I felt like I can't talk with my parents, I can't talk with my mom and my brother. They'd be afraid. It won't be good for them.
I guess when it comes to finding the right therapist, there's a lot of things we have to take into consideration. First, like in any other profession, there are good therapists and there are bad therapists. Just because you are going to a therapist doesn't mean that you've necessarily found the right one for you. Sorry, darling, this one is mine. So finding the right one for you is important. Another thing is, if you're going to a therapist for very specific needs, let's say you're struggling with addiction or you're grieving the loss of a child or a parent, ideally you should be looking for someone specialized in these topics. You're not going to treat anxiety with a therapist specialized in, I don't know, marriage counseling.
Yeah.
Okay. The same way you're not going to treat skin problems with a cardiologist or heart problems with a dermatologist. So, I guess identifying what your needs are and finding a professional that knows how to work with those needs is essential. Oops, sorry.
No, it was me.
And so...
But sometimes I don't think it's just about... you are the professional. Please.
No, but all opinions are valid. All opinions are valid.
But sometimes I don't think it's just about the therapist was bad. I think I was a terrible patient. Because imagine, I don't know if you agree with that. If the patient's not open to the treatment, how that we works? Do you know, I literally was there what I'm doing here, I just have to be here because everyone in my bubble, they go to therapy and I have to go now.
Yeah. So I guess there are certain things that maybe only start making sense after a certain period of time. So perhaps it was just the wrong time that you were seeking these types of treatments. It could have been the professional, it could have been the relationship that you were building, it could have been so many different factors. So it's really important to also not place the blame fully on yourself, because maybe the therapists you worked with were just kind of
He's so good, I'm have a therapy session now.
Yeah, so I guess, if you're curious to know more about your therapist, it's always good to, especially in the first session, to ask them questions, ask them what their, I don't know, their political stances are, or what they think about social issues, or what they think about, I don't know, anything that's important to you. And if you feel like they're, stuttering a lot and choking on their own words and they don't really know what to say, or if they seem more confused than clear-headed themselves, then maybe it's a sign that, maybe this person isn't really the person that I need, to help me navigate my own problems. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. But like I was saying earlier, because therapy is a relationship, and all relationships are hard work, we sometimes do have to power through it a bit, like or make attempts to repair any I guess cracks that might exist in the relationship. Because what I'm trying to say with this is, there will be a moment where your therapist might say something that sounds nonsensical, or that is maybe kind of silly, or that isn't 100% aligned with like what you think or what you feel. And then when that happens, I guess ideally you should be able to address that with your therapist. You should be able to feel safe enough to say, hey, I don't agree with what you said right now, or I think your interpretation of what I'm saying is misguided, or anything of the sorts. So yeah, there's a lot to take into consideration.
I can see loads of members when they talk about, I know you. I'm reading all the comments in their chats. Like few of them, I can see they kind of waiting for a short-term solution from them all problems of their life.
I wish I could give people the answers to their life problems on a silver platter. It would make my job so much easier. Trust me. But unfortunately, it's not like that, because a lot of the issues that people do bring to therapy aren't even individual issues. It's social issues. It's issues caused by racism. It's issues caused by classism. It's issues caused by sexism. It's issues caused by poverty. It's issues caused by other forms of systemic injustice. And these types of things we cannot solve with a tip here or there, or follow these 5 steps and you will find this. No, it's not. That's not how life works. Life is complex. Life is challenging. Life is hard at times. And there are sessions and there are days where we can just literally sit and cry, and there's nothing else we can do besides have a space to actually feel our feelings, and and embrace our sadness and embrace our powerlessness, because sometimes there is no solution.
Besides therapy, what are some ways immigrants can take care of their mental health?
So I guess one key concept to have in mind when we're thinking about mental health is mental health and physical health are kind of like intertwined, or kind of like 2 aspects of the same thing. And everything affects mental health. Everything. Trust me when I say everything. The amount of hours you sleep at night, or the quality of the relationships you have with the people around you. What else? The way you perceive yourself and you perceive the world, your beliefs, they affect our mental health. The things we, see when or the things we consume when we're using social media, and a myriad of other factors. So everything affects mental health. So I guess one good first step would be taking care of your physical health. So, getting those 8 hours of sleep, those 8 hours that all of us know we need, but a lot of us don't really follow that. Making sure you're hydrating yourself, making sure you're staying active, moving your body as much as you are capable of, depending on your physical condition, of course. Then there's other exercises like meditation. There's lots of research that shows that meditation can be quite helpful. So trying to bring your attention to the here and the now through different types of exercises. So mindfulness exercises, which is a specific type of meditation, that can be very helpful. And, reading, I guess, self-help books can be quite useful, or philosophy books or sociology books. It doesn't necessarily need to be self-help. It can be something a bit more academic as well. Anything that helps you make sense of the world, make sense of your own thoughts, make sense of your own relationships. And I guess another thing to include on the list is psychiatric medication, because a lot of people have debilitating anxiety or debilitating depression or any other sort of mental health condition, and sometimes the meditation and the therapy helps, but sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes we really need like a chemical compound to kind of rewire aspects of our brain chemistry. So here in Ireland, you can't really book a consultation with a psychiatrist directly. You need to go through a GP first. So you always need a referral here in Ireland. But depending on your symptoms, you might not even need to see a psychiatrist here. Sometimes your GP might be able to prescribe you antidepressants or anxiolytics or mood stabilizers or anything of the sorts that you might need. So GPs will only really refer to psychiatrists if they feel like they cannot deal with whatever issues you're bringing to them. So, talking to GPs is important as well,
Yeah, and so nice you talk about that, because I believe lots of members, they facing those kind of issues, but sometimes they don't really feel open or safe enough to discuss about that. So for me, it was a huge move when I just realized I have to take tablets for my anxiety. So accept that was really hard for me, because I just thought like, well, I don't need tablets. I don't want that. I know I'm okay. I can just
we typically associate tablets with disease, and disease with like madness, and madness with self-worth. So we sometimes avoid telling people that we're on, mood stabilizers or anxiolytics, because we're afraid of what people think of us.
What do they think? They think I'm crazy. They think I'm not good enough. They think now I'm not able to do what I was doing before. So,
and it's funny because this type of logic doesn't really exist with physical issues. Like if I take a tablet for a headache, nobody's gonna look at me like you're such a weirdo, you know. But then there's, for some weird reason, there's a bias against psychological and psychiatric help. And I know that's changing, the world of mental health. People are starting to understand what therapy is for, and starting to understand what psychiatric medication is for nowadays. But there is still a lot of stigma, and we're still sort of crawling.
I remember in the workplace, not what I'm working at the moment, but in workplace, someone said like, so I have a session with my therapist today. Are you okay? Yeah. I just need to talk with my psychologist. Imagine if you have anxiety, and then you have to take tablets or something like that. But like something that you have to know, it is in our community, you are really safe, and you can share those kind of things with other members if you want. So I feel much more comfortable because I found the community, other members that they have they face the same challenge as me. So we all want a lot to have a job in the area. When I didn't have my work permit, that was really, really bad. I started to have a panic attack. So then everything was really worse. And if I didn't had some members of the community, the volunteers of the community, to discuss about that, to talk with them, and some of them just said like, look, I'm have the same, Camila.
Yeah.
I'm doing my exams at university. I don't have a job. I have to move. Yeah. Someone literally said to me, I have to leave the house in 15 minutes. And I just like...
It's fascinating how...
Oh my gosh, not just me.
Yeah, it's fascinating how people sometimes open up after we show our vulnerable sides to them, yeah. Because I guess on a surface level, everyone likes to pretend that they're perfect, because of the whole social media thing, and also because of status and reputation, which has always been an issue for humankind. but we're all struggling with something. All of us, every single person that's listening to this.
Sorry, Qatar.
That's no problem. Yeah, we're all struggling with something, and I guess when we become fully aware of this fact, that's when I think we, I guess, start being a bit more compassionate with ourselves and with others as well. So
be more kind, isn't it, with ourselves? I'm learning. I mean, I'm this process.
All of us are. All of us are. All of us. It's definitely a lifelong journey, you know, and it's a lifelong journey with ups and downs. It's a lifelong journey because, you know, there will be days where we will be unkind to ourselves, and there will be days where we might be harsh or unfair with others also. But you know, you can always reestablish something that you lost, and
Yeah, cool. And thank you for making me feel comfortable to share that with you.
Thank you for sharing.
With the members. People might be bullied without realizing it. What are the most common type of bullying to look out before it gets serious?
So most common types of bullying, I guess, verbal abuse would be the most common type. That isn't to say that that's the only form of bullying that exists. Physical violence can also be an aspect of bullying, but because physical violence is harder to hide from, I don't know, CCTV, from cameras, from even from, like, in terms of like you getting a bruise or having a broken bone or getting, I don't know, cuts wherever. It's something that people typically, or bullies typically, I guess you could say that they avoid, or they prefer just kind of destroying you through words. So verbal violence, verbal abuse is definitely, I guess, the number one thing that we hear about in offices, and that can come in a variety of different forms. So when people try to belittle others because of a specific category that they belong to, or when they attack a person's worth because of a competence issue related complications, that's something that happens a lot. What else? And the first part of the question was
like sometimes they being bullied, but they without realize that.
So I guess one main characteristic of bullying, something that distinguishes it from other forms of violence and abuse, is that it has to be recurring. It has to be consistent. Like if I'm walking down the street one day and just a random person shouts at my face and says some really nasty things to me, that couldn't typically consider bullying, because I've only seen that person once, and I'll probably see them once only forever, like in my whole life. However, if I don't know, maybe every time I go to a specific pub, there's a person there that mistreats me, or at work, or at home. Like, bullying can also exist at home. It's not just something that exists in formal environments. So I guess the recurring aspect of it is definitely one characteristic that needs to exist for it to be considered bullying. So if you notice that something's happening again and again and again and again, it's the same person always, you're probably being bullied. So.
Yeah, and like I'm just saying that because I was bullied at work.
Really?
At one stage in Ireland. Oh. I'm not really ready to talk about that.
That's no problem.
But do you know why I thought was so important to talk to you? Because I can't believe there are so many other members that they are in place and people are talk to them in a funny way just because their English not perfect. And then they just feel like, that's bullying, or I'm just crazy. No, it's
you start gaslighting yourself,
and you start feel it's your fault. You are doing something wrong, and then that starts putting you down and down and down, and just like you just don't realize, but it affects your whole life in all aspects, like in your personal life, in your relationship, the way how you look at you in front of the mirror, like it's so terrible, so
Like
terrible.
poison. It
Yeah.
destroys you and it kills you slowly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly that. And sometimes some people they are in works that some people they are bullying them for
Yeah.
years. And like just so you know, you can do something else. Like you don't have to accept that. You have your rights. You can't accept that just because you come from a different country. That is not fair. So sometimes some people they want to work in that place because they are afraid to have another job. So then okay, I understand, but start looking for another job.
Yeah.
Because imagine how you being for the next years in a place like that.
Yeah. And I think the rabbit hole goes even deeper because a lot of people sometimes don't know that they're being bullied because they've never had an example of like genuine, pure kindness in their life.
Wow.
Because remember when I was saying that bullying is something that can happen at home as well? Let's say as a child, your parents were constantly putting you down with words or being extremely dismissive of your needs or neglecting you or even being physically violent without any sort of provocation or even with provocation. That can destroy a person's self-esteem. That can completely shape a person's perception of what's normal and what isn't, what's acceptable and what isn't. And then when a person faces that sometimes in their workplace, it just feels natural to them
It's
because it's
natural.
familiar.
Wow, I
So,
never thought at that
yeah.
perspective.
Yeah,
That makes so much sense. Like when you are in a toxic relationship,
Yeah.
but you never had a good example
Yeah.
how it's a good relationship.
Yeah, because we need references for organizing certain things in our minds.
That
So
makes completely sense.
So that's another reason why sometimes people struggle to really, come to their senses and realize, wow, I think I'm being bullied, So, and when bullying is taking place, it's always really, really important to reach out to HR because it's in the workplace, of course. If HR exists, that's assuming you're working in maybe a bigger company. Or any sort of like upper management that can assist you with these types of issues because
Just on curiosity, imagine if the person they feel they can't go to the HR or if the person like in the company doesn't exist a HR person. So
let's say the manager maybe is part of the problem and it's a small firm and I don't know, the manager's harassing or bullying you. I guess depending on the type of bullying, if you can get some sort of evidence that this bullying is taking place, I guess you could even file like a lawsuit against the person depending on, because most companies, I guess, at least on paper, have anti-bullying and anti-harassment policies. And if these policies aren't being enforced for whatever reason, there should be some sort of penalty for that because there are laws that kind of I'm not a solicitor, so I'm not going to be able to give people
Definitely.
legal advice, of course. But I am pretty certain there are laws that protect people's welfare while they're at work. And especially if it's physical type of abuse, then even the Garda could be involved. And if possible, if you have the means to do so, of course, leave. But if we understand that, we're in the middle of a housing crisis and, sometimes we stay in certain types of jobs because we don't really have a plan B or a plan C and because we need the money. So if a person has the means to leave a specific company because of the culture that's kind of being established there, then leave. Leaving isn't always an option, but leaving is sometimes an option.
Yeah.
And if it is an option for whoever is watching this that might be, or listening to this that might be experiencing bullying, then consider it seriously.
It's take care about yourself. It's not just about to be right.
Yeah.
It's about to be okay. I prefer, like take care about myself, my mental health and my body. But just, I'm not a solicitor, but just from a small knowledge that I have, if you struggle with problems like that, don't be quiet. Have your proofs, and then proofs can be message on WhatsApp, proofs can be emails, so you can really, every single communication, be aware if the bullying happen around people, like they are your witness. So then remember that. And then if something like that's happened with you, if something's treating you badly, treating you badly, or if you're really being bullied in workplace, so report that. Report that for your manager. Report that. Like if you can't report for your manager, so then looking for and go to the gallery, and they will give to you more details, or looking for a lawyer. So then, believe me, in this country, you have your rights. You won't lost your work permit. You won't lost your stamp 2, stamp 1G, stamp whatever. Don't worry, because that is a crime. And then this country, they take care about yourself. So then I love Ireland. I love the weather. I love this country. I love these people. So then that is something really nice. Maybe unfortunately, if that happened with me in my own country, I don't know if I'd be really assisted. But here, you can be assisted. So then if you have questions about that, looking for a lawyer, not for me. Okay? But that is something else that I think is important, because I know if you face that problem, you feel it's better be quiet. I don't want to put myself in that situation. I'm afraid to lose my job. I'm afraid to lose my visa or my passport or my rights. No, the opposite. You won't lose anything else.
And just adding to what you said, I think also if you've already identified that you are being bullied, and you're in the phase of the process where you're trying to gather evidence for making like an official report, make sure to, if possible, again, if it's a possibility, that your email communications, that your WhatsApp messages are in English, because sometimes when you're going to present that information to the guard or to a solicitor, if they don't speak whatever language you speak, and you say, oh, this person harassed me, they said such and such, and then you say the word in Portuguese, it's for a person, or any other language, doesn't need to be Portuguese. We're just mentioning Portuguese because it's our language. But so if possible, gather evidence in English.
Block 2. Let's put this conversation up. Okay, let's go for our game. Answer or ease. Are you ready, Andre?
No. I'm joking. Yes, I am ready. Yes.
So please, if you answer, point to the camera for your audience and tell them you answer, or if you eat. And let's go for the questions. If the company decide to hire a marketing professional based on their horoscope signs, what signs will you recommend? Will you answer or eat?
I'm going to answer this one because I think this question is problematic and it needs to be addressed. So I would not recommend any signs, because astrology is fun. Astrology is great. I actually am a big fan of astrology. I love talking about it. Memes, astrology memes are the best. However, bringing that into a professional setting, making decisions, making hiring-related decisions based on someone's star sign or their horoscope or their star chart or anything of the sorts would be extremely unethical, unprofessional, and...
I don't accept this answer. I expected he said, like, Sagittarius, and I said, yes, it's me.
But this isn't to say that, people can't use astrology in other types of contexts. You can talk about it and have fun with it, and... But it is a pseudoscience at the end of the day. There is no scientific research to back up its claims. There's no way of actually asserting that a person's personality is connected specifically to the day that they're born. Usually personality is more connected to our upbringing and genetic characteristics. So it's a combination of nature and nurture. But, who's to say what's possible? However...
So, as a psychologist, have you helped professionals in Ireland deal with workplace bullying? It is common. Will you answer or eat?
I have helped people with workplace bullying, but I can't talk about it because confidentiality agreements. And I signed an NDA. So I'm going to eat.
Okay. Here.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. What is this?
It's not cat food. Don't worry. Now you can eat.
I have to do it with my eyes closed, though.
Of course.
Oh, God. Okay. Mm.
You can put here. Now you can look at that.
Can I open my eyes?
Yes. Do you like that?
It's okay. It's kind of sour. What is this?
My guests are so polite. I like that. I like that.
Is this
Did
that
you like
weird
it?
Australian thing? Yosemite. What's it called?
It's
Oh, it looks like
it's a
tamarind.
tamarind
Oh
fruit.
gosh. If you showed me this and you said, "Oh, would you like some?" I would say, "I'll pass." It's not my favorite, but
It's okay, isn't it? Why not?
no, I'm joking. It's fine. Yeah.
So, thank you so much to be here.
Thank you for having me.
A special thanks to SCWA for assisting students in find the best university and Dr. Visual for their support in recording this podcast. So, if you are looking for a digital marketing service, talk to them. If you'd like this content, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. See you in the next episode. But please, Andre, tell our audience how they can find you. Do you have any project? Talk about it. The camera is yours.
So I guess you can always find me either on LinkedIn or Instagram. Instagram would be my more like informal internet persona. On Instagram, I am under Zydnax, so that's ZYDNAX. Zydnax. That's a long story behind a nickname. It's a nickname. I don't think there's any water left. Or you could find me on LinkedIn, which is my full name, Andre da Cruz Santana. So Andre, ANDRE, da Cruz, DACRUZ, and then Santana, SANTNA. So Santana.
All the links, please send to me. I put in the description below.
Perfect, thank you.
There's something else I'd like to add and tell the members. Feel free for that.
I think paying attention to our mental health is definitely something that everyone needs to do, because we often underestimate how important our minds are. We often think it's less important than taking care of our lungs or our hearts or our teeth. And that's just so far away from like what the truth actually is. And yeah, hopefully the things that we discussed made people that are listening to this or watching this, made them more curious to seek more information. And feel free to reach out to any of feel free to reach out to me or to any other psychologists that you might know online. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much.
I hope I don't have some of that in my teeth. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you to be so kind and being here and share really in a really responsible way. Do you know, like, so everything. So thank you so much. Thank you for having us and to watching us at the end of this video. And see you in the next episode. Bye.